Hello and welcome back to another video by Reviews by Beth, and today I'm going to be reviewing the book Before the Coffee Gets Cold, and this is a book that has been beloved by many. It is everywhere on the internet, especially on BookTube and BookTok, because this book is all about the vibes. It is written by a Japanese writer, Toshikazu Kawaguchi, if I'm saying that correctly, and it was translated to English from Japanese by Jeffrey Truselot, and it is a stunning book. Now, this book was the first ever Japanese book that I've ever read, and it was quite interesting because I've heard many good things about Japanese writers and how they bring kind of a different air and atmosphere to their books, and I was like, I really want to see how this is done. And I read this book, and it is the most cozy book I think you'll ever read. It is literally like I just want to sit in front of the fireplace or under a blanket and just read this and be completely enveloped in this world. Now, this book, if you don't know what it's about, it says it in the title, it's about Before the Coffee Gets Cold. It is set in a little coffee shop in Tokyo, and it's meant to be kind of this nondescript coffee shop, nothing where you would really pass, it wouldn't catch your eye, it's just down a side street, but it has very cozy vibes, and as soon as you walk in it feels like everything's very dated, very old, everything's kind of, you've walked into the past. It is said that you can travel back in time in this coffee shop. Now, it is interesting because we see this happen time and time again. It's kind of a book of short stories using the same concept. Now, the way that you can go back in time is, there are a few rules. You have to drink the coffee that Kazu pours, and it's a special coffee, and you have to drink that, and by drinking the coffee you go back in time, and you can only go back in time once, and you can only go back and see someone if that person has gone to the cafe beforehand. So you can only meet someone who's already been to the cafe. So it kind of limits the amount of people you can meet. And the last rule is you have to leave before the coffee gets cold or terrible things will happen. So you have to make sure, and you have to drink the whole cup. I'm pretty sure. You have to drink the whole cup of coffee, you have to make sure you drink it before it gets cold, and you can only meet someone if they have been there before. So we see some lovely little stories in here, and I feel like this book is very cozy, very warm, and it is more about personal experiences. We see someone go back in time to meet their partner who now has Alzheimer's and just wants to relive them as them and not the person who they have now become. They want to just see that person again. We have someone who's trying to reconnect with a dead sister. We have a lot of quite sentimental stories, people who are yearning for something that they've lost, and in human connections and human relationships, and that is definitely seen. The getaway from this book is to try and live in the present through your whole life, because you don't want to get to a point where it's too late and you have regrets. We have many different beautiful stories within this, and they are all stories of love, whether that's romantic love, whether that is family love, whether that is friendship. It is all revolving around this. It's very heartwarming. Now, this book is a series, and there is another book, which is the second one, which I have here, which is Tales from the Cafe. I have read both of these books. I'm mainly doing one on this one, and I have read Tales from the Cafe. There's another one, and it is pink, I'm pretty sure. That's the third book, so I need to get that one as well. But their covers are all really pretty as well. I know you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but these are also really, really cute. And I heard someone say online the other day that Japanese books tend to have a cat on the front of their cover, and these books both have a cat on the cover, but there's no cat in this book. And apparently if there is a cat on the cover, then you know it is by a Japanese writer. So whether that is true or fiction, I don't know, but I thought that was quite interesting, especially as there is no cat in this novel. There's just a cat, and there's no cat in the cafe, but there is a cat on both of the covers. I thought that was interesting. So yeah, it is a really nice story. I think there's some things about the story is it's very heartwarming. I won't spoil it because I feel like if you want to read it, it's quite a short book. You can read it in 1-2 sittings max if you really wanted to. And it is really heartwarming. It's quite sad but happy in a way. And everybody that I've given this to have really loved it. I think Japanese writing is something that I definitely want to pick more up of because this is so beautifully written. Like, some of the lines in this are just almost poetic in the way that they're written. I will say one thing about this is, not that it gets boring, but it's very predictable. I feel like I've read the second book. I read the second book straight after I reread this book because I loved it so much, and I took it on holiday with me because my friend was coming out there and she wanted to read something, and I was like, oh, I'm going to take this book because she'll love it. And then I also bought the second book and I was like, I'm going to read this one just so I can get the characters back in my head, then read the second one straight after. And I feel like the second one didn't have as good of an impact on me because I just read this one and the format was quite repetitive. So in future, I'm going to leave it a little bit in between reads because otherwise it gets a bit repetitive and it's like, okay, now I can see where this is going, or because it is just the one concept. You go back in time, you have a conversation with someone, and you come back and you have a mind shift. In that way, it is predictable, but the characters are beautifully written, the storylines are nice, and they are beautiful books. I would say I prefer this one over the Tales from the Café, but they're both wonderful. I didn't want to spoil too much about the story just because it's not a long book, and then I didn't really want to delve into much about them, but you do fall in love with the characters and the storylines throughout this book. So if I was to give this a rating out of 5, I would give it a 4 out of 5. It's very nice, cozy vibes, obviously not very plot driven. The characters could go into a bit more depth, but it is a short story. It's like a collection of short stories, really, all linked under like an umbrella. But it is a beautiful book. I feel like if you're in a bit of a reading slump, or you're just wanting something light, or if you're just wanting something maybe a bit philosophical, this is definitely something to pick up. Or if you're scared about Japanese literature and you're like, I don't know where to start, I'd love to try it, definitely start with Before the Coffee Gets Cold. There is a reason it is so popular. Anyway, those are my thoughts and opinions on Before the Coffee Gets Cold. If you'd like to support the channel, please like, comment and subscribe, and you can also look at my Amazon links for the books. That supports the channel, and also my Patreon. Thank you, bye!